So I have a terrible habit. Sometimes when I'm listening to great talks, like the ones that we heard this morning, or even when I'm with my son and husband, I'm not listening at all. Instead, I'm focusing on everything I have to do. So I'm thinking about everything I have to do today and tomorrow and next week. And then I start thinking about all of the challenges facing me. And then I start thinking about all the ways I need to be learning and growing and developing and getting better. And then I say, stop! And then I feel guilty. So today, for the next 15 minutes, if you have the same bad habit that I do, instead of saying stop, I'm going to say go ahead. Indulge yourself. I want you to think about all the things that you have to do and all the ways that you want to be learning and growing and all the challenges facing you, because I'm really excited because I'm going to be giving you a tool to help you with your challenges and ways to grow and learn, and that's how to get a mentor. I met my first mentor right out of college. I went in to interview for my dream job as a human resource assistant. And I had a couple of interviews and seemed to go pretty well. And finally, I got the call. And she said, the human resource director said to me, listen, I would love to hire you, but you have a problem. And your problem is you look too much like the girl who had the job before you. And she had an affair with the CEO. So I've been told I can't hire you. So I was pretty disappointed, as you can imagine. But she went on to say to me, but listen, I see something in you, fortunately not the same thing the CEO saw in the girl. And she said, so if you like, I will be your mentor. So I didn't really know what a mentor was, but she said that we would meet and eat, and I thought that sounded like a great idea. As a result of all this, I had a couple of key realizations. One, I realized that as great as my mentor was and still is, that one mentor is not enough. That you need a network of different types of mentors because we grow and learn professionally in so many different ways. I also realized that it's really hard to get a mentor. And although I was fortunate enough the first time around to have the good luck to have someone offer to mentor me, most of the time we have to go out and find one. So let's take a look at how you can go out and find a mentor today. So the first step is to know thyself, which makes sense because mentoring is a relationship. And so you have to know yourself and what you're good at and what your growing edges are. And so I was thinking about this whole idea of knowing myself. And so I looked to my son, Mark, who's 9. He's in 3rd grade. And I said, Mark, what do you think you're good at? And he said, Mommy, I'm awesome at everything. So I loved his passion. I'm thinking he'll probably develop the part about being humble a little bit later on. However, I was thinking about this idea today, and my question that I want to ask you and actually have you share with someone right now is, what makes you awesome? What are your strengths? What are your skills? What are your traits? What's something you're good at? Because everyone has something you're great at, and this is such an esteemed audience. I know there's a lot of awesomeness out there. So just go ahead and revel in being non-grammatical, if you will. Enjoy the exuberance of awesomeness, and please go ahead and just turn to someone else right now and just say whatever it is that makes you awesome. What are you good at? I invite you to do that now, please. I'm going to stop the awesomeness for just a moment. Thank you for doing that. And you can continue this over a break. So That ability to say what you're good at, although it can be a little difficult, is really important because that what we're good at is actually what you offer to a mentor and what you bring to that mentoring relationship. The second part of that is knowing what your growing edges are, because that's the part where you need to reach out to a mentor in. So let's take a look at step 2, which is reflect on who to reach out to. If you recently survived a family gathering and there were kids present, you probably heard this question. So, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I think it's a fair question to ask ourselves our entire life if we think of growing up as growing and learning and developing. And part of this is not only what do you want to be, but who do you want to be like? In every profession, there's heroes, rock stars, and go-to people. So right now, I'm going to actually pause and just ask you to visualize some people or a person that you admire. So who is someone that you admire? So I'm going to go ahead and let that just kind of come in your mind right now. If someone did pop into your mind, then congratulations. You've already added to your mentoring network because that person may be an inspirational mentor for you. It might be someone that you can learn from simply by watching them, reading what they write, or maybe even watching a TED Talk about them. Also, an inspirational mentor can be a great start with someone that maybe you can actually reach out and connect to. One more idea related to this. As I said earlier, one mentor is not enough, and I'll tell you how I learned this. So imagine that there is a time machine, and we've stepped into it, and it's the 90s. So I've got some big hair going on and big shoulder pads here, and I am working as a training consultant, and I'm getting my PhD. I'm a doctoral student, and I'm happy. I love my job, and I'm making a lot of money, and it's great until the day I go out for margaritas. So I go out for margaritas with my coworkers, the truth serum, and I find out that they are making $100 an hour, and I'm making $50 an hour. So my first thought was, I suck. Clearly, I'm not making as much money because I'm not as good as everyone else. So I go to I don't know what to do because my client is my mentor. So here's where I have to activate my network. I first go to my peers and I say, what do you think? Is it because I'm not as good? No, my peers say. They pat me on the back and say, you're just as good. Look at your teaching evaluations. You're fine. Go on your way. So then I go to my academic mentor and I say to him, why am I not making as much money? He said, well, did you do any research about what that position should pay? And did you maybe talk to your client? No, those are good ideas, though. So I go into my client and I say, listen, what's going on? And she says to me, well, when you came in, you asked for $50 an hour, and that's what I gave you, and you were happy. And at that point, I had my manager hat on, not my mentor hat. So if you want to make more money, you have to ask for it. So I said, okay, I'd like to make $100 an hour, please. And she said, you got it. So just like that, I doubled my income, and I learned this lesson that I never, ever forgot, which is you need to ask, number one, and number two, you need a network of mentors. So step 3, but how do you actually get that network and how do you reach out? This is the part that can be tricky. Connect with courage. So a little bit about my background. I grew up in Fresno, and I am half Armenian. However, I am not close personal friends with the Kardashians, nor do I have their social or professional connections. So about 10 years ago, when my co-author Susan Murphy and I had this crazy idea to write a book and interview 50 CEOs and proteges, we had no connections and really no business doing this at all. So we set out and we said, wouldn't it be cool if we interviewed people from media, technology, and politics, like the CEO of NBC and the CEO of Universal and the US Treasurer? but we didn't know how to connect with them. So we devised this process, which 10 years later has become this whole how to get a mentor and turned into an assignment I give my students every single semester. And it goes like this. When you want to connect with someone, you make a hit list or a target list of who you want to connect with. And then you research or cyber sleuth them. It's so much easier these days with LinkedIn to do that. So find out everything about them. Find out where they went to school and who they know. And then try to find someone who knows them that can provide a warm connect. That way you're not having that uncomfortable, cold connection feeling. And if you keep going with that, sometimes it took us 3 or 4 or 5 meetings to meet the person who could provide the warm connect. Chances are that you'll put people in a better position to say yes to you. So that part's really important. But the part I left out is the courage part. And this is something that I really have not shared before. I don't know why. It's probably because it's embarrassing. But I'm going to share it with you today. And that's the courage part. So how do you get the courage to do that? I have to tell you, when I make a connection with someone, I have a stomach ache before I do it. It's intimidating. It's scary. So I had to devise a ritual for myself that I would use before I would connect. And so my ritual is actually a song. And the song is by Janice Stanfield, If You Are Brave. So I'm going to demo some courage today. What would I do today if I were brave? So you can see why, thank God, I stayed in graduate school. Thank God for tenure, because my singing career is going nowhere. You maybe don't want to do your courage ritual in front of an audience when you're being televised. Maybe that wasn't the smartest thing ever. But seriously, that's my song, and I do it every time I have to do something difficult, like reaching out to get a mentor. So you need a song, or you need a dance, or a poem, or a quote, or a mantra, or a prayer, or a ritual, something that you do. So I'd like you to think about that as we go forward today. What's your courage ritual? And that would be actually a really fun question to ask people at one of our breaks. What's your courage ritual, or what could be your courage ritual? So to sum it all up, 3 steps to getting a mentor. Number 1, know thyself. Number 2, reflect on who to reach out to. And number 3, to connect with courage. And don't try to do this all at once. Take maybe 20 minutes a week. Start at our break or at our cocktail hour. Start making some warm connections. And if you continue to take just 20 minutes a week, in about 3 weeks or so, I think you'll be well on your way to making some connections. So, in conclusion, when we started for the first time or for the second time today, I had asked you to think about what's going on in your own life. And I had asked you to think about what some of your challenges were and ways that you wanted to grow and learn. So I would also like you to think about who can help you with some of those challenges. And I'd like to encourage you to get started, because I truly believe that whether you're a child learning to read, or you're a student graduating from college, or you're an adult looking to get ahead professionally or run your first marathon, that a mentor can help you get there faster, more efficiently, and with greater joy. So I wish you great luck on your journey, and I thank you.